Yo guys, what's going on? In this video I want to get right to the point and tell you how I cured Peyronie's and also how I prevent it from getting worse. And I'll tell you there's three main things, and this is basically, this is all free, so you don't have to spend money on any drugs or anything, though I certainly support that choice. But basically, the way I have cured myself and the way I prevent it from worsening is three things. One is traction by hand, as you know. Abstinence is the next one, or resting your penis. And you don't have to do this, like I don't have to do this now, but in the beginning I had to rest my penis, and I still do occasionally. It just kind of depends. And then the last one is the diet. And all three of these are extremely important, and I really think they can be hard to follow if you're just starting out. But I noticed that a lot of guys who do get worse or who are just starting out kind of fail to do these three things. For a multitude of reasons. So the first one, traction, I have plenty of videos on this, but I do think it's absolutely critical, and you could use a vacuum device. Also, you could replace traction with vacuum device therapy, or you could do both. But personally, I think traction is, for me, it's the most effective. Although vacuum devices could be more effective for indentations or hourglassing, I still rid myself of my hourglass with traction. So, now, where it gets kind of more complicated or difficult is abstinence. So a lot of guys, you know, they won't stop masturbating, even though they're in the active phase and things are getting worse, and they have hard flaccid. Their penis feels smaller and messed up and shriveled and bending. And in this case, the last thing you want to do is keep getting erections and keep checking your erections and masturbating. So there was a long time ago when I first got the disease, I couldn't masturbate at all without it getting worse. And finally, I'm just like, I'm never going to do this. I'm not going to do this. And I didn't have a girl at that time I was sleeping with, so it was kind of easier. But I really, at first, I say cut it down to once a week. And you can't check your erection during this time. And also, you don't want to watch porn. And the reason why is because while porn will make you really, really hard if you haven't used it for a while, just like any other drug, your body down-regulates its effect, and then you'll notice that not only is your penis not as hard the next time you watch porn, but you'll notice that if you watch porn for 30 minutes right now, the next day you will not be as filled out as normal. So your penis just isn't really that filled out. It's almost like it got hyper-stimulated, and now it doesn't really need to fill out again. So even if you're watching porn once a week, I'd say that's just a terrible idea, because one of the things I noticed when I quit porn completely was that just on a daily basis, walking around, my penis is like half full. It's just fuller. And it's kind of sad to say, but since I was a kid, since I was in high school or something, when I discovered porn, my penis was just never really filled out like that. And, and I could talk about this for a while in different ways, like, talking to a girl, you should be getting a little bit filled out. You should be getting a little bit excited. And if you're not, that's kind of a problem. Obviously you don't want to be getting a full boner talking to a girl and make it awkward, but you should be more filled out during the day. Even when you just see a girl walking by who's beautiful, you should feel it through your body and through your penis a little bit. And that's just a natural human state. Humans didn't have sex that often, long ago, like in a kind of tribe scenario. They would just their penis is just kind of hanging full. So this whole porn thing really, really messes you up in many different ways. And it's so tempting to use porn to see, okay, what does my 100% erection look like with my indentation or curve? Am I getting better? Is it getting worse? Am I getting better? Am I getting worse? That's all people think about. But this kind of mind game is a terrible loop, and it keeps, not only are you psychologically hooked on this, but you're keeping the inflammation in your penis constantly. And as I've said before, the disease starts with a lack of oxygen in the penis, and inflammation, and of course there's the diet, which I'll talk about in a second. But you really do want to rest your penis. You have to get the inflammation out of your penis. You need to get oxygen in the penis, because without oxygen, you get more fibrosis, you get a higher collagen to normal cell ratio, and more, everything is just terrible. You get the hematoma, the damaged area of the penis, the blood doesn't move through that well. So you do not want to do this chronic masturbation, and definitely rest it or use your penis once a week, and make sure it's very filled out when you do that. So it's very focused, and so you're going to be doing traction by hand every day or with a device, and abstaining, and that could be difficult if you're getting erections, while you're doing traction. I notice I will get a little bit filled out slightly when doing traction, and I don't recommend traction unless flaccid. But now that I know my body, I know how my penis works, I definitely stretch it slightly filled out. And I'm not telling you to do that because I think it could be somewhat dangerous, but maybe in the years to come you will find that you do that. I don't really know. Everybody's different. But, okay, so next is the diet. And this is so important. And basically, as I've said before, you want that low insulin diet. You need to be doing keto or just very low carb, but that would be very hard without fats. You need to be fasting if you're not going to do keto. You could do carnivore diet. It's all fine. You could do this vegan or meat-based. It's totally up to you. As an example, today I just ate 2 avocados, 3 eggs, and cheddar cheese. And I'm completely full. I feel great. I'm very sharp. I'm more social. Everything is more normal. And somebody did ask, what was more effective for me? Was it the traction or the diet? And I'll say that traction got me very far in the beginning. I mean, I was getting results from traction right away, and typically guys do. My buddy who has Peyronie's from the forums, he just sent me pictures, and he's trying to follow my kind of protocol here. And he's already getting a benefit from traction by hand. And also he's trying to masturbate less. He also is on a pretty low insulin diet. It's not perfect, but honestly it seems great to me. And he's getting improvement already within like a couple weeks of starting this kind of protocol. And like many guys, he was kind of afraid to do traction at first. So a lot of guys won't do it. They're too scared. And I understand that. I don't want you to hurt yourself. But at the same time, if you are very careful and you're kind of smart about it, I don't think you're going to hurt yourself. But yeah, if it helps you, go see a specialist and have him give you a device, and you'll feel more assured. Certainly read the research yourself, though. The research on traction is phenomenal, and I have it all compiled on the forums. But but back to the diet, or I guess what the heck was I talking about? What helped me more? I actually can't really say. I would say traction got me really, really far, and then I noticed it was getting worse when I was getting more insulin resistance, and that's when I changed my diet, and then my scars started softening after that, even with not much traction. So the diet is really key, and diet is extremely critical. And I haven't made videos about this that much. The ones I made were really brief. But you do need to be eating fats. I strongly believe that because your mitochondria need to use fats, which is called beta oxidation, in order for your body to produce CoQ10. So your body produces CoQ10. You shouldn't need to be taking it. And people who are doing this like low-fat, high-carb diet, they are not making as much CoQ10 and a load of other things, a bunch of endogenous antioxidants made inside the body. So keto is highly anti-inflammatory. So is fasting, but I think keto is more important for the mitochondria because you want to get them off the glucose and onto the fats. And men who take statins, which lower cholesterol, they end up getting Peyronie's. Because without cholesterol, you have no transport for the CoQ10 that your body naturally produces. So what we want to do is upregulate or get our CoQ10 to be made more in the body, and other things like glutathione and SOD and all this stuff. So you really do want to eat fats. And you can't just eat fats with carbs, because if you eat fats with carbs, what happens is the actual electron coming off the carb blocks beta oxidation. So if you have it takes priority in the mitochondria. So if you have carbs, you're not going to be able to use fats. Your mitochondria have to choose, kind of. And they actually thought this was the other way around for years. It's funny. A lot of this health stuff that we're learning now, Like, we've just had it completely wrong. So there was a paper just published this year talking about this, how glucose metabolism in the mitochondria blocks beta oxidation. Glucose is blocking your body's ability to do a lot of the stuff it needs to do. And fats are critical for the human brain. The brain is made of cholesterol. All of our cells need cholesterol, and you should not be afraid of it. It's a complete myth that cholesterol, dietary cholesterol, raises blood cholesterol. This is not true. And even if saturated fat does raise blood cholesterol, that may actually be a good thing. LDL cholesterol is not really the enemy. It's the very small, dense LDL cholesterol, which will get lodged into your arteries. But the way you get the small LDL or remnant LDL is actually from carbohydrates. So when you eat carbs and combine it with fat, the LDL sits around too long, it has nowhere to go, your body can't really use it, and it gets kind of smaller and denser, and then you're getting, with inflammation in the heart and the arteries, then these very small, dense LDL are kind of building up, where your blood vessels have kind of like damage on them from the blood sugar and stuff, from the inflammation. So that's a whole different topic. But what you do need to know is that fats are important. And for Peyronies, I think you should be eating, cheese. If you don't want to eat animal products, that's fine. But olive oil, go for that. You want to have the best arteries possible. But at the end of the day, you want to address this underlying mitochondrial and metabolic, same thing really, kind of issue, which is so key because men with higher blood sugar get Peyronies. Men who take statins get Peyronies. And men with diabetes tend to get Peyronies. If you look inside the plaque of somebody with Dupuytren's, there's glucose dysregulation inside the plaque. That means the mitochondria cannot use glucose anymore because they've been so poisoned by it. And the same thing is true for Peyronies. If you look inside the plaque of Peyronies, you see mitochondrial dysfunction, which is the inability to use glucose because they've been poisoned by glucose and all the reactive oxygen species that's produced by using glucose inside the mitochondria. And then you have lower antioxidant defenses because of this. Your mitochondria aren't using fats. And even beta hydroxybutyrate, which is produced naturally by the body if you're fasting or eating fats. Beta hydroxybutyrate actually blocks TGF beta, which is the inflammatory cytokine that causes Peyronie's, or that's what they say. We take Pentox to block TGF beta. Why not just raise beta hydroxybutyrate levels in your blood as you are supposed to as a human? Humans are supposed to be in ketosis all the time. I mean, maybe not 24/7, every day of the week, because, an ancient human would kill an animal and eat a bunch of protein or eat a bunch of nuts or something, but very low insulin inducing food. But being in ketosis is a normal human state. Babies are born in ketosis. They drink breast milk and they are in ketosis for the brain to grow. There is no such thing as a necessary carbohydrate. Okay, there's essential fatty acids. There's essential amino acids. That's protein. There is no essential carbohydrate. Okay, does your body need glucose? Yes, but your body can make glucose from fats and from protein. So you do not need external glucose. Okay, I've been keto for 1 year and counting, and I just feel great. Peyronie's is fine. Honestly, I think it's super important for fibrosis in particular, from so many different angles. But anyway, that is hard to do. Again, like all these three pillars, the traction, abstinence, and keto or a low insulin diet, they're hard for a lot of guys to do. A lot of guys are afraid to do traction. I understand that. A lot of guys are afraid to abstain. They want to check and see, like, oh man, how's my dick? And then keto, a lot of people just can't even conceive of it because our society is so, ever since agriculture was created in ancient Sumeria, in slavery, humans started enslaving one another to farm. And then there was this whole hierarchy thing, and the slaves would eat grains and rice while the kings would eat meat. In ancient China, they actually had a term for low carb. I think it was GUFU or something like this. You can hear about this on What I've Learned, a video by What I've Learned about, I think it's about diabetes. But in ancient China, they knew that to live longer, you should eat low carb. And the reason why we eat bread, pasta, rice, and all this stuff is because it's the cheapest, easiest way to kind of keep the people below us fed. So we have farmers and people alive, so we don't have to work, you know. So it's kind of like the slave food. It sounds crazy, but the way sugar and carbs work is it's so sweet and high energy, and it's so easy to produce. You know, if everybody was just eating meat and avocados and eggs and cheese and stuff, it would be a lot more expensive. And the way society works is, you know, we end up eating the cheapest kind of best effect thing, right? And that's going to be glucose. And you know, that's kind of a complex topic, and I don't need to get into it, but you do need to realize that it's not normal to eat potatoes and stuff like this. I mean, it's just crazy how much bread and stuff we really eat, and you don't need it, and it's actually poisoning you. So I know it's hard. If you live alone, it's pretty easy, but it can be hard if you're married to someone who loves to cook, you know, really rich stuff like lots of carbs with all this stuff, or if you like going out and people like to eat certain things with you. That can be really tough. I understand that, but do understand that it's really real, and we have so many reasons to think that at the root of Peyronie's is this kind of metabolic problem. So many reasons. So keep in mind, you know, as you are struggling to fight this disease, you can take Pentox, you can take Cialis, you could get surgery, but there are these 3 pillars, which I guess you could just say it doesn't have to be traction, but physical therapy, resting the penis, or at least proper use of your penis, which my other video is on, like how to masturbate properly, how often, how to have sex, how often. So usually I consider that the second pillar to be like sexual modification. So physical therapy, sexual modification, and diet. Those are my 3 kind of pillars that have cured me and keep me cured. And sometimes very rarely I'll get worsening of my symptoms. Very rarely. If it's really cold and I had alcohol the previous night or something, too much alcohol, which I think is really bad for Peyronie's. By the way, I don't recommend you drink, or if you do, stick to whiskey, something with no carbs that may have some health benefits. Don't do beer. Definitely don't do beer, but or wine probably. But if I do see any worsening, I just do some traction by hand, and you know, follow these principles, follow these 3 pillars or keys or whatever you want to call them, and it's my symptoms are pretty much gone within a few minutes of doing traction or the next day. But they do all kind of work together, and I highly recommend you seriously consider these things, regardless of what you're doing, and do see a specialist if you really want to, like I said, because I know a lot of guys are afraid to do traction, and I get that, but like I said, the people who do try to do these things that I'm suggesting, they do get improvement really quickly. But always be careful. Check the forums, do your own research, and really, really try to understand what's going on. It's unfortunate because a lot of this information is kind of hidden from public view, and it's complex in a lot of ways, but it's also simple. So do try it, and let me know if you have any questions, and let me know how it goes, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.